Hello comic book fans, this is your host Travis Collins, aka Duck Punch, and as I promised I am here this week with our reviews, but we're doing things a little bit differently from here on in. Instead of one big giant show, as you read from the title, you probably can guess, we're going to try doing this in more of an episodic format, because all the cool kids do it like episodes. Anyway, today we've got 4 comics that came out last week. We're going to talk about them today. We're going to talk about Brightest Day number 8, Shadowland, Daughters of the Shadow number 1 of 3, Batman, Streets of Gotham number 15, and Thunderbolts number 147. Now, as I said, we're going to try this a little bit differently. I'm not sure if it's going to stick, but we're going to give things a shot. So here we go. Start things off with Brightest Day number 8. Written by Geoff Johns and Peter J. Tomasi, with artwork by Patrick Gleason, Ivan Reis, and Adrian Syaf. Now, the last issue of this series finally got the ball moving on this comic, and this issue grabs that proverbial ball and starts its run towards something that remotely resembles a goal. Now, after the reveals of the last issue, with the White Lantern entity giving all the resurrected heroes and villains that came out of Blackest Night their marching orders, several steps are taken toward actually fulfilling these goals. Deadman and Dove are searching for the new protector, whoever or whatever that might be. Martian Manhunter is searching for the now known to exist Green Martian that he thought he was the last of. And Hawkman and Hawkgirl, who are stuck on some strange island planet thing, are preparing to go to war with their arch-nemesis Hothset. Now, after the very welcome change of pace in the last issue, this issue, number 8, slows things down a little bit, but it's no less relevant. Now that we know what each of the resurrectees is roughly supposed to do, Johns and Tomasi do a good job of beginning the difficult task of moving them toward fulfilling their missions. Surprisingly, there is actually a good balance of action and dialogue, which is, again, surprising coming from Geoff Johns. The art is tight, as usual, but I'm still not understanding why it takes 3 artists to do it. It seems kind of overkill to me. And at the end of the day, after 6 really boring issues, Brightest Day is actually starting to become interesting. Now let's see how long that lasts. Next up is Shadowland, Daughters of the Shadow number 1 of 3. Written by Jason Henderson, with art by Ivan Rodriguez. I don't know, I felt like saying it with a twirled R. For not knowing much about the Heroes for Hire, this was a surprisingly easy book to follow, especially with the handy-dandy little background info in the back. It also told a pretty interesting story that ties right into the end of Shadowland number 2. Now, Colleen Wing, after escaping from Shadowland at the end of issue number 2, is back on the streets, but with increasing interference by the police. After a veiled message from Daredevil and the Hand, Colleen attempts to break back into Shadowland, only to discover that Daredevil is waiting for her with an offer and some very tantalizing information about her past. Now, Henderson is doing a pretty admirable job here of making this a very easy book to pick up. With no background knowledge about Misty Knight or Colleen Wing or the rest of the Heroes for Hire, this was very easy to follow. The only complaint I had was that while it was easy to follow, it still didn't convince me that this was anything other than a meanwhile book. I mean, there's nothing here that really screams, you need to read this. Rodriguez, the artist, is actually really standout here. With so many of the artists working on this crossover, Shadowland, wanting to either be way too dark, like literally you can't see anything, or way too sketchy, which it comes off, I guess, looking way too gritty, he really has a very clear style. It stands out. Kudos. I really like this book. I like it well enough. But I don't know if I'll be picking this up next month, if none of the action is going to be more than periphery to the actual story. They've got to convince me that this is a worthy investment. Up next, Batman, Streets of Gotham, number 15, written not by Paul Dini, but by Ivan Brandon and Ramon Box. What? the hell? Here I am, all a Twitter for a Paul Dini written Hush story, and I get Two-Face? I get this? It's a Two-Face story. Two-Face and his last two remaining goons are on the run and unleashing 15 shades of hell along the way. Unfortunately, things go south for Harvey when the informant that in the last issue's backup, like it didn't even have a whole story, backup, he's shot in the stomach, he dies. And then Harvey just gets really, really messed up. Now, I was sorely disappointed in this issue. Aside from looking forward to more Paul Dini, this story was just not that interesting. Now, Two-Face may be an interesting character, and he may be a really neat villain, but I don't feel like he's strong enough to support a title on his own. Besides, all he does in this issue is wave a gun around and talk like a psychopath. And I mean, for some people that may be all they need. Certainly for Quentin Tarantino, that's all he needs in any of his characters. But I kind of need a little bit more. That got really old after about 5 pages in. Now, Box, on the other hand, is actually pretty good here. His artwork is nothing to write home about at this point, mind you. But, in a couple years, I wouldn't mind seeing him working on other titles. I was extremely disappointed with this issue. Which is terrible because I've raved about it. I mean, I've always said that this is one of my favorite Bat books, and this was just bad. This was terrible. You guys got to do better. You guys can pull this off. What hell happened? Last of this week, or this episode, I'm sorry. Getting used to that. Sorry. Is Thunderbolts number 147, written by Jeff Parker with artwork by Kev Walker. You know how in the preview show a couple weeks ago I said that I was giving this book a test drive? Well, if this issue is any indication, man, will I be sticking around. Now, after finishing dealing up with the missing S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who had become monsters at the end of issue 146, the Thunderbolts return to the Raft, the prison they live in, for a Scared Straight program with the Avengers Academy. More on that later. Anyway, in the middle of all this, the power goes out at the prison, and there's a riot among the prisoners. Now, this presents each of the Thunderbolts with either an opportunity to try to escape, or a chance to actually act like heroes. Now, Parker really pulled this one out of nowhere. I was expecting simply a follow-up to last issue's cliffhanger, but this was actually a lot of fun. He clearly gets these characters, and is definitely trying to give them some obvious character growth, while at the same time, he's still telling a Thunderbolt story. He's still telling Marvel's Dirty Dozen. And it works. It really works. Walker's alright here, but I'm not really a fan. Personal taste, I guess, but his characters always look really weird to me. After only 4 issues, this series is really picking up, and I'm definitely on board for a little while longer. So there you go, guys. 4 books out of 15, since we couldn't find one of the issues this week. So very sad. So I hope this went a little bit better. I hope you kind of got maybe a little bit more information than I normally give. Let me know how you liked it. Let me know if there's anything I can do to improve. I'll be back tomorrow with another 4 issues, and with any luck, this will become more regular. I always look forward to hearing from you guys. As I say all the time, I try to work suggestions into the show. I try to respond whenever possible. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.